Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, Coastal Carolina's Jacob Morrison or Southern Miss's JB Middleton. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, we will go over the midweek and sort of preview the upcoming final series, conference series weekend. Starts on Thursday, so we'll get into it today. And I'm still getting crushed for things that I didn't say. Again, people hear what they want to hear. All right. We have a huge race and almost an impossible race for who should be pitcher of the year in the Sun Belt. Okay. So atop the statistics in the Sun Belt categories, you do have Jacob Morrison. He is 9-0 for Coastal Carolina with a 1.84 ERA. All right. He's got 73 in the third innings pitched, 47 hits, giving up 15 runs, all are earned. Only 15 walks, 74 strikeouts. So that's a 5-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Obviously, that's outstanding. Opponents hitting a grand total of 179 against him. Okay. JB Middleton with a 2 ERA. He is 9-1. His loss was to UNC Wilmington. We'll get to that. Does have a complete game. Jacob does not. He has 85 in a third innings pitched, so that's 12 more innings pitched. So in 12 more innings, he's only given up 2 more base hits, 20 runs, 19 of them earned. He's walked 22, struck out 98, also basically a 5-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and opponents are hitting a grand total of 164 against him. So you can see those statistics are basically the same. I guess the two big ones is that JB Middleton has a loss and has given up 4 more earned runs is basically the difference. Middleton has more strikeouts in more innings pitched. And although lower batting average against, but these two guys are incredibly similar. All right. In 13 outings, Jacob Morrison has 10 of them where he's given up 0 or 1 run. That's amazing. In 10 of his 13 outings, did I count that right? Let me see here. Because I thought that was wrong. Oh, game started. He's got 1 relief appearance, apparently. So he's got 12 starts, but he's got a relief appearance against East Carolina. Did give up a run on 3 base hits in a ball game that they did win. Apparently, he got the win. Nonetheless, he's given up 1 or 0 runs in 10 of his 13 outings. That's ridiculous. All right. He gave up 3 runs to North Carolina, gave up 3 runs to Troy, and he gave up 4 runs to Georgia State. That's it. That's amazing. That's crazy. So in his last 4 outings, he's given up a grand total of 2 runs in 26 innings. That's fantastic. That's Marshall, JMU, App State, ULM. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's, Troy and Mississippi State. Did that include Marshall? Did I say Marshall? Marshall's got some bats. But, it's not, and App actually has some bats, but that's not exactly murderer's row, admittedly, but nonetheless, impressive nonetheless. All right. JB Middleton, all right, has been very good as of late as well. In his last 4 outings, he's given up 6 runs. Half of those were to the Cajuns. 3 of them, and those came in the first 2 innings. But he went 15 and 17 innings. So that's 32 innings. He's given up 6 runs, and he has in those innings 16 and 20. That's 36 strikeouts compared to Jacobs' 14 and 11, 25 strikeouts. So that's a difference. So again, really close. To me, you can flip a coin, and certainly both sides can argue which one is better. But I'm going to tell you the stat that impresses me the most. This is where I'm impressed the most. All right. Let me get back to the page. All right. Morrison in 73 and a third innings, 15 runs, all earned. JB Middleton, 85 and a third innings pitched, 20 runs, 19 earned. Between the two of them, they've given up 1 unearned run. That's impressive. That's why they're a combined 18 and 1. The defense behind them has been spectacular. I now know we have a pitch clock that everybody's going with, but I bet you these guys don't waste any time. Get the ball, get the sign, let's go. The defense knows that when these guys get a couple of guys on base, and I told you their batting average against, right? One guy's batting average against is 179 and the other one is 164, and they don't walk anybody. So there's not a whole lot of guys on base to begin with. Their games don't last very long. And the defense is really good. They don't give up any unearned runs. 1 unearned run between them. That's impressive. That's why they have the records that they do. Really impressive defense between both, behind both Jacob Morrison and JB Middleton. When I went through all those numbers, and different numbers mean different things to me, batting average against, strikeout to walk ratio, I'm looking for different things. But when I see 1 unearned run between them, I know they're pitching quickly, and obviously they're pitching effective. That's what that means to me. Again, I haven't seen either one of them pitch all that much. Middleton looked really good against the Cajuns the other night. I saw a little bit of Morrison as well, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've been seeing either one of them. I will probably see a little JB Middleton on Thursday against Troy. So you can flip a coin as far as I'm concerned. Both schools, both fan bases have their claim. Morrison hasn't lost one. Middleton's got more strikeouts, better average against, has the complete game, but he also has a loss. So, again, you could go both ways. Would it surprise anybody if the Sun Belt copped out and did co-pitcher of the years? Would that shock anybody? Should I make that call right now? All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. There actually is midweek ball games. Surprisingly, there are games this week, and we'll start to take a look at the final Sun Belt Conference weekend series that begins on Thursday. We will do that right after I tell you a little bit about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off when a player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We'll get to me still getting crushed, which I really don't care about. Although I do have an unhealthy issue with being wrong. Well, I don't make a whole lot of predictions. All right, midweek ball games. Again, I don't think the big three have them, right? Old Dominion is at Richmond, Georgia Southern at Kennesaw State, Marshall at Vatech, ULM at Louisiana Tech, Texas State at UT Rio Grande Valley. A win by Texas State, oddly enough, could help out the Sun Belt. Well, obviously wins by all of them will help out the Sun Belt RPI, but specifically Texas State and Marshall, a win over Virginia Tech would help out as well, obviously. But Troy, Southern Miss, and Coastal are not playing. Okay. Coastal Carolina is going to Old Dominion. Probably need to see, have they won 11 in a row as well? All right, they've won 11 in a row as well. Actually, Southern Miss has won 12 in a row. All right. So they've won 11 in a row as well. And remember, Old Dominion is trying to lock up a top 6 seed. Now, Old Dominion has taken care of Marshall and JMU, so you can't get cocky because Coastal Carolina is much better. If you're Old Dominion, you're trying to win one, to be honest with you. If you can win the series, great, but you got a really good shot at trying to get a top 6 seed if you can win one. If you win more than that, you're definitely going to lock up a top 6 seed. All right. Georgia Southern is at Marshall. All right. Now let's see where these two teams are in the standings. Marshall and actually Georgia Southern are tied for 6th. Huge series. Team is either going to play, the winner of this series is going to advance to Wednesday, and the loser of this series is going to play a one and done on Tuesday. That's basically going to be it. Don't even need a tiebreaker. All right. There may be a tiebreaker with another team, but not between these two teams. That's as easy as it gets. They both come into this series 13 and 14. All right. As long as the game isn't rained out, one team's going to win 2, one team's going to lose 2, and then the winner's going to play on Wednesday, the loser's going to play on Tuesday. That's the way it's going to be. All right. That takes care of that. That's a huge series to try and advance to the double elimination without having to play on Tuesday. So that is enormous. All right. South Alabama is at ULM. All right. South Alabama had a chance to tie with App State for 10th. They swept a doubleheader on Saturday, but then lost on Sunday. That puts them in a tight spot where now they're 2 games out instead of tied. They basically have to sweep ULM, and they have to hope App State gets swept. I guess technically they won the series. I presume that's going to be the tiebreaker. I probably should look into it this week. I try to avoid all Sun Belt tiebreakers. You guys know that. They have to hope to tie App State, all right, to get into the conference tournament. All right. I guess technically they could be eliminated on Thursday if App wins and South Alabama loses. That'll be it. All right. If they both win, it'll get pushed till Saturday. All right. That would be South Alabama and App State. Now, if South Alabama wins and App State loses, well, now they're 1 game difference, and South Alabama remains alive. All right. Let's see where else we are. All right. Southern Miss and Troy, obviously the big weekend series we've all been waiting for. This is for positioning and bragging rights. I guess Troy has an outside shot if they can sweep, which they haven't done yet this year. They haven't lost a series yet either. And Southern Miss comes in potentially as the best team in the conference. This is in Troy, Alabama. Troy, I don't think they're going to fall that much. Probably in the low 40s if they lose two out of three. But if they win one, right? If they lose two, say they would drop to 45. But if they win one, they'll pop up back up to 42. So I don't think losing one is going to be all that detrimental. Whereas if they win two, they'll be right back closer to 30. All right. Keep those numbers in mind. All right. And obviously, if Southern Miss can win 2 out of 3 or sweep, which I don't think is going to happen, I think Troy's going to win the series. I'll say that right now. Wouldn't be surprised if Southern Miss wins it, but I'll pick Troy to win the series only because they've won every series. The only thing that I'd be surprised, I do think Southern Miss is better. All right. I do think they have better pitching, but Troy's at home. We'll put it on Troy for now. Southern Miss can put themselves in a position for a chance to host. All right. James Madison is at Texas State. Texas State is just trying to make sure that they finish in the top 10, which they should finish in the top 10. JMU is basically out of the tournament. And the last series is Arkansas State and the Cajuns. And that's big because the Cajuns are trying for a top 6 seed and Arkansas State is trying to find their way into the tournament. Arkansas State is tied for 9th. I guess they have an outside shot at a top 6 seed. Remember a couple of weeks ago, they were inside the top 6 and they ran into tough opponents over the last couple of weeks. So we shall see how that goes. All right. It'll be interesting. Really looking forward to watching Troy and Southern Miss. Should be Thursday night and Friday night, right? I will be home those nights. It is 6 p.m. Central Time. So it'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure Saturday is a day game. I love the idea that, that the Saturday afternoon game. It's a great idea. 3:33. You add another 3. That's a phone number of a lawyer who sponsors the team. So that's a great job by Troy to get that in there. So that's a good job by them. All right. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. I am still getting crushed for what I didn't say. People don't want to listen. All right. I ended up being right. Sort of. Stay tuned for that. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, so today's little short clip was that the NCAA tournament's not going to be good enough for Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, right? Coastal Carolina's got an outside shot, although not that outside, of being a national seed. I don't think Southern Miss has much of a shot to be a host, but is really good enough to win their regional if they can avoid the top 5 seeds. They really need, if somehow Southern Miss can be go to a regional that's like 10 through 16, they could win that regional. All right. And so that was the point, that the NCAA tournament's not good enough for them. Just getting there. Sometimes that is good enough. Not this year. Not this time. They want these two teams are good enough to get to the supers, and with Jacob Morrison and JB Middleton, you win the first game, you just need to win 1 out of 2. All right. They could advance to Omaha. All right. And that's what I said in this short. All right. And so when I make the shorts, I have, it's actually a little editing program, Chopping. All right. And all it is it makes a bunch of clips. And all I edit is sometimes the wording doesn't come out right. Sunbelt is 1 word, so I make it 2 and capitalize the B. I might make the numbers, which are words, actual numbers. And sometimes the AI doesn't get the actual word right, so I change that. But not smart enough to know how to edit what I said. And so all of those clips that you see are actually from my episode. So what I've been saying and what I was saying when Southern Miss was 44 and facing teams like Arkansas State and the Cajuns, it wasn't so much, and maybe I should have been more clear about it. It wasn't so much about Southern Miss. It was about the other teams. It was, they weren't facing Coastal Carolina and Troy at the time. They were facing Arkansas State with the 100+ RPIs. They were facing the Cajuns with the 100 RPI. You lose one, you're going to fall. All right. And I said if they lost 1 to each team, they would be back in bubble territory. Well, people hear what they want to hear. First of all, they think bubble territory means out. That's not what I said. I said they'd be in bubble territory. And for me, middle, top 50 compared to top 40 when you're Sunbelt and G5, I get nervous. All right. I would rather be in the top 40, 36, 37 than 42 or 43. All right. We gave the example last year. JMU was 46. They got in. College of Charleston, 47. They didn't. All right. And so went back and forth. And I appreciate the back and forth. It's pretty good banter. If you saw it, Attack Eagles, that's his little thing on Twitter, calling me out, saying, no, Dave. First of all, you said we were on the bubble. And I said, well, you were on the bubble at 44. All right. In my book. All right. And I said, you'd be back on the bubble if you lost, which you didn't. So you're calling me out for saying, if you lost, which you did not. I didn't say you were going to lose. But you guys hear that and you think, I want you to lose. Go look what he said. He said, I'm like wanting it to be in existence. As if the Locked On Sunbelt host wants the Sunbelt team to lose because it says honorary Cajun in my little bio, my little profile, because I covered the Cajuns for, 6 years. I need and want all 3 Sunbelt teams to make the NCAA tournament. I want them all to go to the Supers, and I want them all to go to the College World Series. Could you imagine, making it all about me, how popular this podcast would be if I got Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss playing in the best out of 3 College World Series final? Please. You think I'm rooting against Southern Miss? No. All right. And it's not like if you want to say, well, honorary Cajuns, he wants the Cajuns. Cajuns weren't close to getting in that large berth. They're not close. That went out the door a long time ago. I think when they lost to Troy, or maybe actually Louisiana Tech. They had a shot to where they were in the 70s and could have inched their way back in there, and then the bottom fell out. So they were in no position, which I said was the case at the time. So people hear what they want to hear. I said if they lost 1 to Arkansas State and 1 to the Cajuns, they would fall back to bubble territory. All right. That's what I said. Then I said if they lost 1 to the Cajuns, it probably wouldn't hurt them that poorly, but they'd still fall back a little bit. You can go back and look. I don't delete the tweets. It's very odd what gets caught up in Twitter shorts and YouTube shorts. Yeah, it's very. I posted a thing, I guess last year at the beginning of softball. Sam Landry, she now pitches for Oklahoma. The Oklahoma fans found it. It took off. She used to pitch for the Cajuns. Out of nowhere. So they found it. So you can see it. I can't change it. I didn't change it. All right. And to prove my point, go look what happened to Troy. Troy, with the help of others, because a bunch of teams lost, they moved all the way up to 32. They lost one time. One. They're now closer to 40 than they are to 30. If they swept Arkansas State, they'd be sitting at 32 or 31, maybe 33. But they'd be closer to 30 than they are to 40. But they're sitting at 38 because they lost one time. And if you don't think losing a couple of times hurts you, one of the teams that helped Troy out, Troy moved up because one of the teams lost. Go look what happened to A&M. The bottom fell out of A&M. They got swept by Missouri. Now, they lost three times. Now, that's what happens when you lose. And the RPI sinks. So, you guys think, I don't know why you would think that I want any Sunbelt teams to lose. I want them to win. The better the Sunbelt does, the better this podcast does. Again, going back to a couple years ago, it didn't take off. It wasn't football that took off. It was Southern Miss hosting Tennessee. We've been through this already. When Southern Miss hosted Tennessee, and the Tennessee fan is the one that made the wisecrack about not having Applebee's in Knoxville. And then the Southern Miss fans ran with that. And we were tongue-in-cheek having fun at the Volunteers' expense with that. All right. I mean, it was amazing how ridiculous it was. All right. And again, Southern Miss should have won that. Should have won. Disappointing. We're not going there. We're not going there. But I'm absolutely an unabashed homer, rooting for any and all Sunbelt teams to win. All right. So, if you want to know, maybe even rooting a little bit for Troy this week just to make sure they get into the NCAA tournament. All right. I don't think they need my help. I do think they'll win, only because I think Southern Miss is better, but Troy's won every series this year. So I think, and I've said this before, I'd be shocked if it's not one of the three teams winning the Sunbelt Championship, and I'd still be shocked if it's not Coastal versus Southern Miss in the Sunbelt Championship game. All right. Now, in a short tournament setting, anything can happen, right? That's the difference between baseball and other sports. Like baseball is much more like hockey, that it can be fluky, any kind of ricochet and rebounds and stuff like that compared to basketball or football. You can make a perfect pitch in baseball and still becomes a base hit. Hit them where they ain't, right? You can crush the baseball, hit it as hard as you can, and make it out. That's why that's where the saying comes from. That's baseball. You can do everything right, it can still go wrong. That's why we love the game that it is. All right. So we'll see how the games go. They don't really matter this week. Although Marshall, Virginia Tech is cool, and we'll see if Texas State can get another nice win over a highly big RPI team. And then we do have some big series outside of Southern Miss and Troy. I mean, you got the Cajuns in Arkansas State, you got Marshall and Georgia Southern, and you do have some huge series this weekend. All right. Thanks very much for tuning in. Do have the day off on Tuesday. I don't think I guess we have Sunbelt meetings this week. So no football coaches. All right. We'll see what we can do next week. We may try and reach out to see some baseball coaches. That's going to be tight. Basically Sunday night, if we can get some baseball coaches on Sunday night and Monday. I would presume they're going to, if they can, they would go right to Montgomery. I'm not sure why anyone's going to go home, but we'll see if we can get some coaches to hop on, specifically the top 3 guys. See if we can get those guys to come on. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I do appreciate the back and forth. All right. The banter is always good. And I appreciate it being rather civil. All right. For the most part. All right. Anytime you want to call me out, feel free because I don't have any problem calling anybody else out. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll be back on a Wednesday.